Hi, this is Martin Drummond with Progressive News. It's Friday, July 26, 2019. And I got into a bit of an argument with some of my friends online this morning. They basically criticized me because I was thrown in jail. And for the life of me, I couldn't convince them that I was innocent, number one, and that I really was glad I got thrown in jail because I learned so much. And I'm going to give you a perfect example of that right now.
I just can't wait to hear a little more about the pilots and what they're going to say. I'm sure it's going to be some bombshells there. And what do you make of this so-called suicide attempt with him in his jail cell? People are obviously going to assume foul play and that somebody rich, famous, powerful wants Epstein dead. Do you buy it? Do you think it's suicide? Do you think he's allegedly in there with a dirty cop?
Well, according to the dirty cop's lawyers, the two of them are getting along great. They've become very good friends in prison. But it actually reminds me, and this may sound silly, a scene from Batman Begins when the mob boss allegedly slits his wrist so he can get transferred to the, better.
Yeah, Farron, it is silly. Because, you know what, you should have spent some time in jail and you'd understand what happened here. At least what I think happened, and I'm pretty sure happened. And why? Because I have spent time in jail. And I can tell you one thing for sure, that in jail, people can get out of their cells and can interact with other people, and there's also, like, they let people out of their cells to move around and stuff. I mean, he's not in solitary confinement. He's probably got his own cell because they're worried about him, but he's probably also allowed out because otherwise everybody's going to jump up and down and claim torture because solitary confinement is supposedly torture. So I'm just saying, I mean, there was a girl who was lost in the jail I went to, the Lexington, whatever. It's been about 6 months since I was in there. I guess I've forgotten. Anyway, so, she was found 2 or 3 months later in a back part of the, of the facility. It's a huge facility. Houses like 1,200 people or something. Anyway, so let me tell you what happens to pedophiles in jail. Okay, so this one guy, he comes in about, I don't know, a week before I'm going to be, before I get let out, right? And I think he's really strange. He's real quiet. The only thing he did the whole time he was in there up till the very end was he started harassing some black guy, telling him, the guy was outside the cell doing the food, because they bring in this big cart and they get everybody's trays ready, and then you come out and get your tray. So he was giving this guy some shit. That's the only thing I saw. I mean, he's a pretty tall guy, and he had a wart on the top of his head, kind of bald. And I thought he was really kind of strange because he never talked to anybody, whereas everybody in the cell talked to everybody, at some point. Unless you, like, immediately took a dislike to somebody. Okay, to make a long story short, the night before I'm about to be released, he decides to take the bunk underneath me. And I just decided I didn't like the lower bunks. Everybody used to fight over the lower bunks, but I decided I didn't want them, so he ends up taking the one right below me. And I didn't like that because he was definitely strange, And I see the other guys kind of talking about something. I can't really hear what they're talking about, and kind of skulking around. And I wondered what they were up to. I mean, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. And all of a sudden, they start going out and talking to, because there's outside of the 12-man cell, you can't get out most of the time unless they open it up to our cell, and then you can walk around the outside part. And there's a tower in the middle, and that's where 1 or 2 guards always are. And they're going out there, and they're talking to that guard, and then they start, and I'm trying to sleep, but I can't sleep. And the guards start saying, yeah, you, so-and-so, so-and-so, you, come out here, we want to talk to you, get your stuff, you're leaving, and all this stuff. And then they come in and they make this guy underneath me leave. And the whole time I'm pretending to be sound asleep. That was my solution to everything. If there was ever a problem, I would just lay there, I would pull the covers up over my head and just act like I was oblivious to whatever was going on. I mean, that saved me from so many problems, you would be amazed. And so, they get this guy out and they make him leave, and then the guards come in and they start saying, well, you're going to have 5 days of where you lose all your privileges, no TV, no this, no that. And, I asked the guy, I said, well, is this going to affect me getting out tomorrow? And they're like, no. Don't worry. This is nothing to do with this doesn't impinge on you getting out. So then they leave, and then I start asking, what the fuck's going on? And they're like, oh, well, there's this one guy, and he was kind of a smart ass, but he was an alright guy, as it turned out, after I got to know him. But he was a troublemaker, a little Woody the Woodpecker type. And he tells me, well, that guy, I recognized him, he said, and he's a pedophile. And a bunch of the other guys start going, yeah, he's a pedophile. And then suddenly I realized these guys hate pedophiles. They don't want them in the jail cell with them. Who knows why? Maybe it's a homosexual problem with... I mean, the guys in the jail didn't like homosexuals. And homosexuals were allowed to be homosexual with each other, or whatever. But as far as sexuality goes, there was no such thing in jail. I mean, if you tried to be homosexual with other people, you'd probably get your ass kicked immediately. Because, on the other hand, raping a guy had nothing to do with homosexuality. When they talk about you getting raped in the shower, bending over through the soap, they're not talking about there being gay guys in jail. Homosexuality in jail is the least of your problems when you're in jail. The homosexuals all kind of keep to themselves and don't even mess with, but rape, as in getting cornholed, what have you, whatever you want to call it, that is very much a real thing, but it's a violent thing. It's the way that some guy will punish somebody else. It's got nothing to do with homosexuality either. I mean, it could in some weird way, but it doesn't. It doesn't technically. It's all about, I'm just going to say it, fucking a guy in the ass. I mean, the next to last day that I was there, one of guys that I considered to be pretty normal, pretty cool guy, threatened to drag another guy into the shower and butt fuck him and knock his teeth out. And supposedly all because he was in between him and the TV, he couldn't see the TV, which was not the case. What happened was this guy, he's kind of, first of all, there's a class thing going on. This guy was kind of middle class, Lexington, Kentucky type guy, on the outside, he'd get all the girls and everybody think he's cool, right? He probably had a nice car. So this guy was probably not liking him anyway, but the night before, this guy had picked on his best friend. And his best friend had said, look, man, I'm sorry I even brought it up, and all this stuff. But the guy wouldn't leave it alone. And this other guy who threatened him the next day was obviously pissed off about that. I will say that. I know that's what he was really pissed off about. And I was kind of annoyed too, because this guy wouldn't get off this other guy's case. This guy's a smart-ass, loudmouth, but, so what, right? So you tell him he's a fucking idiot and then you leave it alone. But no, this guy couldn't leave it alone. So the next day this guy got all over him. So that's what that homosexual act is all about. It's not about homosexuality. It's about violence. It's about domination. So I'm betting, everybody in that jail where Jeffrey Epstein was, I'll bet everybody, all those inmates, I'll bet knew he was Jeffrey Epstein, the pedophile, right? And man, you don't want to be a known pedophile in a jail or a prison or anything, because you will get fucked up. You better hope they put you in in maximum, like in solitary. You better be separated from the prison population. In all likelihood, that's what happened to him, is somebody managed to get a hold of him and just about beat him to death, hit him in the throat a couple times. Phew. So, I'll bet you that's what happened to Jeffrey Epstein. And you'll find out that one of the guys, and this is something I was just thinking about the other day, and I want to throw this in because I don't want to have to do a whole new segment on it. Although I am going to completely cover my whole time in prison, try to remember it. And I'm going to try and do that soon because it's fading, But, well, now I lost. It seems like during every segment I do, I lose track of what I was going to say. But I was going to tell you something interesting about jail. Well, another time, because it always comes back around sooner or later. So, that's my opinion on what happened with Epstein, with his bruised neck, and apparently he was unconscious. I don't know. He may have just been asleep on the floor. Happens. Alright, this is Martin Drummond with Progressive News. Hope you enjoyed my segment. Thanks a lot.